The Chicago Bulls reportedly won an unprotected first-round pick back in a trade for Coby White, and fans are losing their minds. Are the Bulls asking too much? Are Bulls fans just conditioned to expect disappointment at the trade deadline for the Chicago Bulls? Trade rumors are flying. Ayo Dosunmu's name is rising up trade rumors. Trey Jones and Jalen Smith may be the real keys to the Bulls making a significant trade at the trade deadline, and NBA insiders are saying a move is becoming a matter of when, not if. We're going to talk about it all and more right after this. What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host there, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content today, y'all. And I want to start off talking about the Bulls and their reported, ask and trade talks for Coby White and other players, and answer the question: are the Bulls asking for too much, or are they setting the price right? And we're going to talk about all the variations of that, right? So this was kind of started by the fact that we've heard that the Minnesota Timberwolves do not want to trade Juan Berenger. They do not want to trade they don't have any tradable first-round picks, so they can't even give the Bulls a first-round pick if they wanted to, which means that trade reportedly of Terrence Shannon Jr., Mike Conley, and multiple second-round picks is basically the best that they can do, other than putting Rob Dillingham, a former first-round pick, on the table as well. Now, I've talked about how the fact that I would not be interested in Rob Dillingham if I'm the Chicago Bulls. He just has not shown an ability to be an NBA player yet, and he doesn't project to be the most natural fit in our guard lineup. I mean, maybe you can move Ayo maybe to the starting lineup, then Rob Dillingham be your first guard off the bench, but you have already an undersized first guard off the bench in Trey Jones, who's doing a pretty damn good job for you and is only 25 years old, right? So you have that aspect of it. So I think that when you look at the Wolves offer, it doesn't make it the most natural offer. Then you can go to the Clippers, and what we reportedly heard that the Clippers would be willing to offer for Coby White and Bogdanovich and some second-round picks. That doesn't get it done either. So now you're in a situation where Bulls fans, predictably so, are once again saying, oh my God, the Bulls aren't going to get a deal done because they have too high of an asking price and they don't really want to move Coby. They're not going to make a trade. And the thing is that they should. I'm sorry. I've said this to you guys many times before. Coby White, as an over 20-point per game scorer, is not somebody that you just move away. And I'm not saying that you have to necessarily hold on to him, too, if the right deal comes across. But some of y'all just want to see a deal made to be made and are willing to try to talk yourselves into a move that objectively on paper is not good for the Chicago Bulls either. It doesn't give you a future asset. It doesn't give you the center that you need. It doesn't give you any first-round picks. You're not improving in any way. And I guess for the fans that want to see the Bulls get worse and tank, maybe it does something for that crowd. But for the crowd that actually wants to see this team compete and complain so much that, oh, my God, the Chicago Bulls haven't won a playoff series in 10 years, if that trade doesn't get you closer to that, why would you want to see that trade done just to get it done? And that's what it comes down to. And even so much so that if those are the offers that are on the table for Coby White, it may, even if he walks in free agency, that may be the best thing for you. You can help facilitate a sign and trade if he ends up walking, something like that, right? Where you can still have a chance of getting something back, or even the flexibility of the roster, and then making a move and putting a huge offer sheet out on Ben Mathurin or Jaden Ivey or something like that presents a better opportunity than taking back a bad trade now that gives you no assets for the future, really, no assets that really help you now. That's just the reality of it. So, again, I've come to the case with most of these trades and most of these rumors for the Bulls. If it does something to help you get better, whether even it be in the long term or short term, right? Like getting Juan Berenger back would have been a long-term play. He's not some dominant center right now, but the potential that he has to turn into one, that's something that's worth betting on if you don't want to pay a player $30 million. So that's kind of where we are right now, right? The Clippers, they don't want to part with a first. The Wolves don't have a first that they can part with. They don't want to part with their young draft pick either because they view him to be a long-term replacement for Rudy Gobert, as they should. So this is another situation where it's going to be predetermined that people are going to complain about it and say that, oh my God, the Bulls just aren't taking advantage of the value. That's not value. That's not there. Then you look at the trade rumors for Ayo Dosunmu, right? Like, yes, their trade rumors are rising for Ayo. He's playing really well, scored 20 points, last night's game. And Ayo's going to have value around the league because his extension, his next contract isn't going to be expensive with Coby White. He's a two-way player. He's a player that can almost fit into just about any type of scheme because of his game and the efficiency in which he, you know what? In saying all of this, that sounds like a player you actually want to keep on your Chicago Bulls team, right? Especially because he's not looking for a max contract or anything like that reportedly, right? Things, you never know. Agents and players can start smelling themselves, and then maybe that changes. But as we know it for right now, he's not looking for a huge contract extension or anything like that. So, I think that Ayo is the one that, to me, he's going to be worth whatever he gets paid. If he commands $18 million, he's going to be worth it. If he commands $20 million, he's probably going to still be worth that. Now, if you start getting to 25, 30-ish, which, again, we haven't heard any rumors, I think Ayo's going to be worth that. So, again, I think Ayo's the player you definitely just want to keep. So hearing that the interest is high in Ayo, but we haven't heard nearly as much to say that the Bulls have an openness to move Ayo, I think that says a lot as well, right? So are the Bulls asking price too high? And to get back to the original kind of thesis question on this segment is that, maybe, but it should be. For a team that is in the place of, as everybody says, I'm tired of being mediocre. I'm tired of being in mediocrity. Yeah, guess what? You don't get out of mediocrity by selling low on players. You just don't do that. You re-sign those players and then you move them later. And no matter who says, Josh Williams in the chat or whoever else, they're idiots. Like, that's what you do. Because then at that point, if you have them locked into a 2-3 year deal, whatever it is, teams have to negotiate and do business for you. That's not unique to the Chicago Bulls. If people actually were more intelligent about the NBA as a whole, you would know that's worked out for many teams as far as going ahead and extending your player. And then because you're actually going to use them, don't do what the Golden State Warriors did. Don't extend a player and then send them off and then say, oh, why is the value so low, right? When you don't actually play them. Like that's a bad thing. Like, so that's the situation that we're probably moving towards in this. And I know it's not one that every Bulls fan wants to hear or wants to see, but it's the reality of it. And when you get back into the reality of things, if the Bulls make a significant move, and by that I mean a pretty big move, it seems like the key to that may actually be moving one of Trey Jones or Jalen Smith, another thing that a lot of Bulls fans don't necessarily want to see, right? But those are the players because of the years left on their contracts, because of the fact that the contracts are only $8 and a little over $9 million, that those are the contracts that teams around the NBA are looking at and saying, hey, that can do a lot for us because in the now and in the future, because it provides us cap flexibility because it's not a huge contract. And in the case of Trey Jones, in the second year he has 2 years remaining. In that second year, it's a team option. So if you do need to move off something for flexibility or move him, you can basically opt out of the contract if you decide to do so. And Vooch is not going anywhere. I think at this point, we've heard so much to say that Nikola Vucevic has next to no trade value at all in the market, which isn't a surprise either. But that's probably not going to, he's not going to be moved. At the end of the day, his contract's probably going to expire, and hopefully the Bulls do not bring him back because, like I said, even if they bring him back and extend him for a team-friendly contract to be a backup, the only way that I can see Bulls fans not rioting if that happens is if we either trade for or sign, so a Walker Kessler, Nick Claxton, something like that, and we make Nikola Vucevic their backup after that guy's already signed and gotten, or if we draft a center in this draft that clearly we're like, all right, bet that's going to be the starting center by this time next season, right? Like, and that's by the time we draft them, so not necessarily in their rookie year. That's the only way I think you can get Bulls fans to be like, all right, well, we're keeping Vooch. I don't like it, but hey, he's back on a 2-year deal. But I'm not going to take that off the table either. Not what I want to hear for the Bulls, but I'm not going to take that off the table looking at what Arturas Karnisovas has and has not done. So we go into an offseason, and I know many people are going to say, well, you're just going to let the expirings expire? Yeah, you can do that because it still provides you flexibility to where you can absorb other contracts. You can sign players. You can absorb players in trades, create a trade exception for that team, and do those type of things. The Bulls also do have a trade exception so they can absorb salary that way that doesn't expire into July, so they have some time during the offseason to use those trade exceptions as well. So the Bulls got a couple of things at their disposal that even that if they're not used at this trade deadline, there's still future assets the Bulls can use later on down the road. It's just Bulls fans want it. And like I've said before, it's very difficult to ask Bulls fans to be patient for you to do something if you're not showing something. So either the Bulls have to win on the court now, right? They have to win more on the court to kind of quiet that noise down a little bit, or they have to do something that is a calculated move. Now, is Yves Missi still a possibility? He had a huge game a couple of nights ago, which, I'd love to see for Yves Missi because I do think he has tons of potential. I'm just not ready yet to say he's a center of the future quite yet. So we'll see what the Bulls do here. But for all that, right, and the trade rumors just keep going on, it's still for some around the NBA, it's speculated that it's not about when the Bulls if the Bulls are going to make a move, but it's about if. Now, they do not talk about the caliber of that move. We heard yesterday that the Bulls are still expected, one of the teams most expected to and desiring to be active at this trade deadline. But I want to temper the expectations there, right? Just because you are expected and other teams are saying, hey, they're trying to get active, it does not mean that it's going to be some super big game-changing move. They could be looking at, hey, let's acquire a young defensive center like Yves Missi. Let's acquire somebody like a Nick Claxton. Let's get a Day'Ron Sharpe in here. Let's do something like that to add to this front line because we want to keep Jalen as the starting four the rest of the way to take a look at that. So it could be something as simple as that. It could be something, of course, as big as moving Coby White or things like that. But hey, as it stands right now, we know a few things for the Bulls. A, they're not going to tank. I get it. I hear you guys. I know you guys whine about it a lot, but the Bulls have shown us consistently pretty much they're not going to tank. Tank is not going to happen. It is what it is, right? And while some people do think that the Bulls should take a little step back to then take a longer-term step forward, which is something I've talked about, but at the end of the day, like you look at it a season ago, moved on from Zach LaVine. What did they get back in Zach LaVine? They got they got their own first-round pick back, and then they got back 3 role players that have all played pretty good roles for the Chicago Bulls when they're healthy, and that's helped the Bulls take a step back, right? I mean, a step forward. But at some point, you got to take a risk. And if that risk is in free agency, putting a huge offer sheet on a Walker Kessler, for example, if that risk is a trading for Nick Claxton to be your starting center and you're trying to win that way, whatever it is, at some point the Bulls do have to take a risk. And that's the thing that we have. Marc Stein said that the Bulls are eager to do business, right? Eager to do business. And they realize the situation that they're in with 7 players on expiring contracts that are heading into free agency, and that the last thing that the Bulls reportedly, according to Marc Stein, want to do is to see multiple worthwhile contributors leave for nothing in return, especially players like Coby White and Ayo Dosunmu. Now, KC Johnson came out and kind of reiterated this as well on Monday on Fox 32 in Chicago, saying that Arturas Karnisovas messaged on Media Day where the front office leader notably avoided declaring the postseason a goal for this year. It immediately suggested the Bulls could take a more methodical approach to the team building this season, going so far as to say this. They're not going to make a trade just to make a trade, but they are open to taking calls. And if the right opportunity presents itself where you can add some young talent or some draft picks and get rid of some of those expiring contracts, you so safeguard against losing them for nothing. That's something you got to look at. That's from KC Johnson. So if we're taking that to say then that the Chicago Bulls are looking to do something with the expirings, they either want a young player back that's promising or they want first-round picks. That goes hand in hand with what we've heard about Coby White. So to get and stack those picks, the Kevin Huerters, I don't know if that's going to get you, what that's going to get you, unless it is a player that's kind of just on the end of a bench on a winning team and they think Kevin Huerter can give them more of a chance to win. They don't have time to develop a player. That's really what you're looking at. We've heard that, teams have called on the Bulls guards. We've heard a lot of different things, right? But I still want to reiterate, too, that also what we've heard, Julia Poe of the Chicago Tribune also points out that, hey, as it stands right now, that despite the up and down season and calf injuries, Coby White is a guard in demand. He says this, the 25-year-old is a 3-level scorer who also averaged 4.8 assists over the last 3 seasons. He struggles to defend, but it's not for a lack of effort, and his versatile offensive skill set is what makes him attractive. He would be a snug fit with Minnesota next to Anthony Davis. The Detroit Pistons need a secondary scorer, and the Houston Rockets could stand to add another guard. The Los Angeles Clippers, Orlando Magic, and Atlanta Hawks have also been linked to White. But again, from what we're putting all together there is that the Bulls may not actively be shopping these guys, but more so listening to what the market is telling them and listening to the deals. We'll see, right, if something happens. But I still think the best bet is, and I'm going to always say this, is a trade is probably not going to happen here. I still think that is the best and safest bet here for the Chicago Bulls, is that a trade is probably not going to happen. Now, if I'm wrong with that, I'm wrong. But I don't think a major move is happening, and I would not be surprised if after all this season of speculation and talking, we end up with Coby White, Ayo Dosunmu back in Bulls uniforms. Bulls fans are going to complain and start this trade speculation all over again. One of Kevin Huerter, Zach Collins is probably not going to be back. One of those guys is not going to be back because you're going to have to create a roster spot. Javon Carter's probably not going to be back. Nikola Vucevic is probably not going to be back, right? So that's 3 of your 7 expiring contracts right there. Dalen, I don't think Dalen's going to be back either. If I'm just being 100% honest with you, I don't think Dalen's going to be back, right? So, I think that's what the Bulls are looking for and looking for upgrades kind of more naturally in those places. But we'll see. One of the biggest knocks on Arturas in his time here is that he's missed striking sometimes when the iron is hot. And that has left him ass out and deal out sometimes. And that's a reality of what we've had. But just like past success doesn't guarantee future success, past mistakes don't guarantee future mistakes either. AK just got to wake the fuck up. And if he does that, then, there are options here. There are definitely options out here. There are avenues, there are assets that the Bulls have. $89 million in expiring contracts, $20 million in trade exceptions, a 17 point something million and a 2.9 million trade exception. We have 2 of them things, right? So we got that. We got a disabled player exception for Noah Essengay, which we can use once the buyout market hits. We have assets. The question has always been about where and when does AK strike with those assets, and does he get off the fucking toilet and actually do something? Stop shitting on the Bulls, shit on some of these opponents. Let's do that, right? So we'll ultimately see. But again, a little over a week before the trade deadline, there's going to be a lot of rumors. Rumors are going to do nothing but pick up. They're not going to slow down. We're 9 days away from the NBA trade deadline. Over those 9 days, you're going to hear everything from the Bulls could still trade for Zion to the Bulls could be in on LeBron James trades. You're going to hear a lot of bullshit. Our job here at Chicago Bulls Central was to separate the bullshit from the real. That's what I feel the job is. That's what I've always felt the job is, sitting in this chair, and that's what I'm always going to do for you guys. And let's see where we end up. But let me know your thoughts, as always, down below on all the trade speculation from the Chicago Bulls. But let's move on. Matas Buzelis is going to be representing the Chicago Bulls in the All-Star game. He will be heading into the Rising Stars game, his 3rd time in that. He also was a member of it when he was with the G League Ignite, but his 2nd straight time as an NBA player. But he apparently declined entering the dunk contest again, saying he kind of wanted to focus. And that's, I'll say this, I'm actually proud of Bulls fans, because after that news came out, I haven't really seen a lot of Bulls fans judging him for that, as far as negatively. If anything, I've seen people saying, hey, that kind of focus, right? And seeing what that's going to do there. But I said, I'm trying to listen to my body. Hopefully I get invited again another year, because I would love to do it. And listen, with all the injuries that this team has had, players need to listen to their body. But he is going to be in the Rising Stars competition. That's great for Matas Buzelis. The NBA put him front and center as well. I do think a lot of people around the league, not just the Chicago Bulls, really see that Matas Buzelis has some star potential. Is he going to hit it here in Chicago? That's just the biggest question that many people have, and we'll see, right? Because we need that. We need Matas to hit the upper echelon of his potential. If he hits on 95% of his potential, we're going to have a hell of a player there. And Matas is, he's had his struggles. He's had his victories, of course, this season as well. And he had his moments where he reminds people of just the potential that Matas has to be a damn good player in this league, more than a damn good player if we're being realistic with it. So, I'm glad that Matas is going to be there. Of course, he's the leading dunker on the Chicago Bulls as well. He was going to receive an invite. He didn't. The showing in the dunk contest last year actually disappointed me. I'll be 100% honest with you. It disappointed me to see Matas Buzelis, because we've seen the type of dunks that Matas Buzelis is capable of. And it just, whether it was the moment, whether it was him thinking too much, he really did not have a good dunk contest last year. Hopefully he gets invited again next year and in the future, and he feels like his body is in more of a position to do that. But we're going to get to see Matas compete with the Rising Stars Challenge, and we'll see what happens there. We'll see what he does there, if he stands out, because it'd be great if he does. With that said, though, I got one voicemail I want to get into today. This one is from Jeremy.
Hey, what's up, Haize? This is Jeremy down here in Oklahoma. I just wanted to touch on a few things. We're on our little 4-game winning streak, and it's nice to see. Definitely glad to see Hoarder getting his shot back. And Smith has been outstanding lately, and it's nice to see Billy Donovan kind of messing with the rotation, not just leaving Boots out there the whole time. I'm really excited to see what Collins could do once he gets back. Definitely, I think he'll be a nice piece. I think it was Corn that just said, maybe we don't move anybody, and I'm fine with that. More this year than I have been in any year. I mean, it would definitely be nice to get messy, but I agree with him as far as the chemistry and the guys all being together on the court at the same time. I think we definitely have a shot to at least build on that. It's different than the prior years. This year, we're, to me, a little bit ahead of the game. We show progress this year, so let's it'd be nice to get in the playoffs, not the play in, but we do get in the play-in, we need to win. We need to get in the, make the first round interesting, or at least get to the second round. Then we can build from there. I'm one of the guys that are thinking long term. I can't wait to see Noah Essengay with this team. Hopefully he gets to be able to do some work while he's recovering. But yeah, it's exciting, and I love the community, man. Love the channel. I love that we can mess with each other. Corn, everybody else on here. I love you guys. So we're all here for one reason. It's because we love the Bulls. So be red and peace out.
Doesn't mean if the Bulls get into the playoffs. Jeremy, that's a great question, and I'll say this. To me, it means that they took a step in the right direction. Like they're actually taking a step forward, especially if the Bulls make the playoffs outright. I'm not necessarily predicting that, but even if they have to go through the play-in to then make it into the playoffs, if they do that, great. I think that it says a lot about how young this team is if they're able to do that with a core that's much younger than what it was, the last time we were in the playoffs. But I will say this, I do want to see them compete more. I'm not saying that they have to win 3 games, right? But I say this, if they actually are in competitive, like if they end up losing 5-1, but they were competitive in each of those 5 games, that's a step. The Bulls went 5-1 in a series that they weren't competitive in very much any of that series, right? Other than the game that they won. So we'll see what the Bulls can do with this. I hope that they can, surprise some people, because not a lot of people have them counted as being a team that can make the playoffs. Let's see if they can, whether it's through the play-in or outright, whatever it is. If they go on a run like they did at the end of last season, hey, anything's possible, and we'll see what this Bulls team can do. But at the end of the day, Bulls fans, this isn't about making a move just to make one. It's about direction. Are you building around Gideon Buzelis? Are you prioritizing future picks? Are you running it back and hoping internal growth is enough? The leverage might finally be here, but the question is, will AK use it? Drop your thoughts down below. Who should stay? Who should go? And what's the minimum return you're accepting for each of the Bulls' best trade pieces? Let me know that down below. Make sure you guys subscribe to like the video, subscribe to the channel as well. You can follow us at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns. bullscentralpod@gmail.com. And lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We're the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. And like I like to end every episode, stay safe, go Bulls, and always see red if you can, y'all. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.